Since the beginning of NBA history, teams have always been categorized in conferences and divisions, which are roughly based on the location of their cities. Throughout the regular season, teams play against other teams in the same conference way more often than they play teams from the other conference. And then finally, when it's playoff time, the teams are again split up between two conferences, East and West. But what if the NBA just removed conferences? What if the playoffs were seeded from 1 to 16 based on just their regular season records? Well, let's find out. I'll be using the 2014 NBA playoffs as an example. Why 2014? Because I feel like it's a good year to show how this new playoff format impacts different teams in different ways. So, in 2014, this is what the original playoffs looked like. Now, if we got rid of the East and West Conference and just seeded the top 16 teams in the league based on their records, this is what the playoffs would look like now. For teams with the same record, I use the same tiebreaker rules that the league normally uses in these type of situations. As you can see, the Atlanta Hawks, who originally made the Eastern Conference playoffs with a 38-44 record, are no longer in the playoffs anymore, and they've been replaced by the 48-34 Phoenix Suns. In these new 2014 playoffs, nothing drastic changes in the first round. The top 7 seeds, the Spurs, Thunder, Clippers, Pacers, Rockets, Heat, and Blazers, they all win their first round series convincingly. However, the Warriors and Grizzlies battle it out at the 8th and 9th seeds. Keep in mind that this was before Steph Curry's breakout party and his MVP years, so he wasn't the same player he is today. The Grizzlies, on the other hand, were a powerhouse that made it to the Western Conference Finals in the previous season, and they only won 50 games this year because Gasol was injured early on. He was healthy in the playoffs though, so I believe the Grizzlies win this series in 7 games. In the next round, the Spurs and Thunder, who originally faced off in the Western Conference Finals, still advanced to the next round in this scenario. The Clippers, on the other hand, despite having a better record than the Heat, lose to them because LeBron is at his peak, and the Clippers have never done well against any team led by LeBron. The Pacers beat the Rockets in 6, since the Rockets didn't have anybody to contain Paul George, since Trevor Ariza was still with the Wizards at the time. Plus, the Pacers also had the best defense in the league, so James Harden would have struggled against them. And now we're left with just 4 teams remaining: the Spurs, Thunder, Heat, and Pacers. Does that sound familiar? Yeah, they all made the conference finals in the original 2014 playoffs anyway, so nothing really changed. The Spurs, playing some of the best team basketball ever, are just too much for the Pacers to handle, so they defeat them. And then the Thunder, despite losing to the Heat in the 2012 finals, win this series because both Westbrook and Durant improved a lot this year, and the Heat were near the end of their dominance anyway. The playoffs conclude with a finals matchup between the Spurs and Thunder, and the Spurs defeat the Thunder yet again to win the 2014 NBA title, just like in the original timeline, except this time it was in the finals. So what can we take away from this simulation? Well, basically, the end result doesn't change at all, but everything that happened in between would definitely have a big effect on certain teams. For example, the Wizards originally had a great run in the 2014 playoffs. They defeated the Chicago Bulls in 5 games and then pushed the Pacers to Game 6 before losing. This was considered a successful season by the team. However, in this new scenario where the Wizards are the 14th seed, they just lose quickly in the first round to a more superior team that won 13 more games than them. This could cause the Wizards front office to make some more aggressive moves in the summer to accommodate their superstar John Wall, instead of just staying put like what they originally did. Additionally, the Rockets, who originally lost in the first round to a Damian Lillard buzzer beater, actually reached the semifinals this time and lose a hard-fought series to the Indiana Pacers. This could potentially cause the front office to believe that their team is fine as it is, and they can continue developing the young players instead of making some drastic changes. And also, the Heat no longer make the finals, and LeBron is no longer clinging onto his streak of consecutive finals appearances. But he still ends up leaving Miami to go back to Cleveland anyways, so I guess this part doesn't change. Those are just a few examples of how eliminating conferences in the playoffs could impact some players and teams. But this is still basketball, and in the NBA, the best team will almost always win the championship every year, regardless of how the playoff format changes. And that's all, guys. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure to subscribe for more in the future. Thanks, I'll see you later.